Welcome to the Healthy Perspective Podcast with your host, chiropractor, entrepreneur, mentor, and author, Dr. Chris Bowman. He'll break down and extract the secret sauce behind his own success and the success of some of the top leaders in every category and from around the world. Get ready for your weekly mental adjustment because shift is going to happen.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Healthy Perspective Podcast. Today is going to be a fun one. Just having my book released, it's kind of serendipitous that we get to meet with Brach Goetz this morning. Bracha is a Harvard-educated author of 40 books that help children's souls shine and a candid memoir for adults about overcoming food addictions joyfully and spiritually. Searching for God in the garbage. Her books can be found at getzbookshop.com, and that's GOETZ bookshop.com. Bracha, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So we were just talking a little bit beforehand. She's having some interesting weather way over in Israel, going to have some snow and, getting all bundled up and that sort of thing. How fun is it to, have connections to the States, have connections to Israel? I mean, if there's more attention on two countries, I don't know about it, so you like to be at the center of attention. Why don't you kind of, start off? Where did that kind of come from? How did you start? How did you start doing your first book? Let's just start to unravel your person here.
Okay, sure. As a teen, I was searching so much for meaning in life, and I searched everywhere just about possible. It's also how I ended up at Harvard, because I was searching for wisdom. Mm-hmm. I wanted to know what's the purpose to life. I felt like something was missing from my life, but I didn't know what it was. So I even, after I explored all kinds of things, and I started working hard in school, and I got into Harvard, and I was searching. And in fact, a turning point was this exclusive garden party that I got invited to at Harvard. It was the children of all the most famous people, like Caroline Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and the Moynihans, all these people, and I felt like I made it. This is it. This is where I want to be. And I realized there was nothing there. It's like if you strive to get to a certain mountain peak and you get there and okay, I've done it. This is not all there is. I feel it was a big blessing that I got to see there's nothing up there. They're just regular people like us, and nothing special. So there's something more, but I didn't know what more was. I went searching, and I went to medical school. I was studying to be a psychiatrist. Between my first and second year of medical school, I had a 6-week vacation.
Oh, wow.
I went to Israel for 6 weeks, and I didn't come back for 10 years. So what happened was I discovered my heritage, which I really didn't know about. I was searching everywhere but in my own backyard. And when I learned about the depths, the wisdom, the treasures that were in my own heritage, it changed my life. I actually met this rabbi who made it's called the Bible, or the Torah, we call it, resonate with my soul. And so that I was able to understand it in a really deep way. And my whole life changed at that point.
So you talk about your heritage, that mean Jewish heritage?
Yes, my Jewish heritage.
That's amazing. Yeah. So how far were you able to trace back your genealogy and whatnot?
Yeah, I was able to trace it far back into when they were Hasidim. When my parents' generation came to America, they kind of tossed that stuff away. It wasn't considered valuable. So I had to, that's where I got the title of my memoir, Searching for God in the Garbage. These things had been tossed. I felt like I had to find them and get the value out again to find it, because I knew something was missing, but I didn't know what it was. Yeah. So I found the treasures, and that's when I started writing children's books. When I stayed here, I met my husband soon after that. He had a similar story to mine. Wow. And we had children. I started writing the books I wished I had as a child. So they're they're spiritual children's books. I say that they're books that help children's souls to shine. That's what I want. I want to give them the nourishment from the very beginning of life, the spiritual nourishment that they need to be able to shine. Once they have those skills their whole life, they could be shining.
That's amazing. I love that. And, it's interesting thinking about, books in the Bible like Leviticus or Numbers, or even like that first chapter of Matthew. And, most people are just like flipping through. It's like, I don't need to know all these genealogies and whatnot. But, and I'm sure, I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm sure, like the first, 10 or 15 generations before Noah, like all the names. Do you know like the story that the names give?
I should know it deeper, because every single thing in the Bible there, it's in code.
Yeah.
In other words, it has so many levels to it. Everything that we think sounds, even the things that sound, there was this war and this person begot that person, it doesn't seem to be too valuable. That's why you have to learn it in depth, and then it becomes so valuable. Right. Otherwise, it's almost like, well, my parents considered it like nursery rhymes or fairy tales. They didn't really give it value, and so I didn't value it either. And most people can't. If you just sit there and read it, you're not going to get it. You need the depths of wisdom that's behind it. Yeah. And that's what gets your soul to resonate. It's music. It's right. When that music resonates, then that gives your soul the nourishment it needs.
Right. I love that. And for those of you that don't know or haven't studied the Bible, or even didn't even know that there was a connection between the Old Testament and the New Testament other than history and the gospel, you should really just Google what the names of like the first 12 or 14 generations to Noah mean, because it actually tells the gospel story. And then you go in the New Testament and it's like, exactly what happened when Jesus comes down. It's like, that was predicted by the names of the very first generations of people. And then you start reading through the genealogy listed in Matthew, the genealogy of Jesus. And you look at all these people that are in there. You have prostitutes, you have kings that committed adultery. You had all these people within the genealogy that are like, how did the God, the creator of the universe, the son of the most high king, come through this genealogy? And it ultimately paints this picture of like restoration, like reconciliation. And I love that. I feel like that's what your goal is with these books, is like restoring life into things that were previously lifeless. Names that really didn't mean anything to you before now are like, this is what's providing this God-sized whole gap, in my this longing that I've always had. And it's filling it because it's actually producing eternal meaning rather than just you have some knowledge or something like that. Why don't you just give us maybe a couple titles of some of your favorite children's books that you wrote? Maybe we can dive into those. I think that would give us a lot of color into kind of what you mean by providing that meaning and joy to these kids.
Okay, sure. Well, my newest book is Let's Stay Healthy. I'm so sorry. Let's Stay Healthy. You think, well, this just seems like it's about the body, but the body houses the soul. If we don't take care of our precious bodies, they're gifts to us, then we're disregarding how valuable our bodies are. So the book teaches about how, like, the foods that we eat, the natural foods are designed to be delicious and nutritious, while the very processed foods, they're designed to be delicious and addictive. Totally different. They're coming really from a place of greed, of just making money, and people are getting more and more ill from eating the junk, which is so widespread now. So I'm explaining to children from the very beginning why that food that looks all glittery and shiny, it's really not good for us. It actually, this is not explained to children so much, but it actually the book explains how it draws out the nutrients from our body when we try to absorb it. We're not meant to absorb junk. Our bodies are meant to absorb all the natural foods in this beautiful garden that's our world. So, and the other thing is that our bodies are meant to move. We've become so sedentary, with all the devices and everything, but our bodies were designed, like the lymph system, for instance, it doesn't even work right unless we're moving and exercising and playing like children naturally would do. So I explain all these things, and I even explain, because my background's in science, so I love this stuff, is why do we have to wash our hands with soap? Because there's invisible germs we don't see. And why do we have to brush our teeth and floss? Because again, we don't see these germs, but they're there. And also, like sleep. Nobody wants to go to bed at night. No children want to go to sleep, but just think how different you feel in the morning when you've had a good night's sleep. Like, this book is for little kids, but it even affects teenagers. Like, teenagers that read it are saying to me, I realize now, if I go to bed earlier, I feel better. And like, it helps to explain to children how our bodies work. And this is why it seems like, is this a spiritual book? But it is, because it's actually an important good deed to take care of our bodies that we learn about. Yeah, that's one example. I'll show you another example. This is called I Want to Be Famous. It's a book about, like, little children always want to be famous. So this boy becomes famous overnight the way anybody could now. Like, someone takes a YouTube video of him, it becomes viral, and he's famous overnight. But then so quickly his fame is gone, realizing there's nothing really to that, until he realizes, if you get the spotlight shining from within your soul, then every day becomes an amazing day for you. Then you don't need that outside validation. You don't have to be famous. Every day is a joy. Yeah. If you learn how to nourish your own soul and get it shining. So these are just, and like, I have books about disabilities, like how to interact with children that have disabilities. Again, what's spiritual about this? Because this is so important for those children that don't have disabilities. It helps their soul to shine if they make another child happy. Children with disabilities are the loneliest children. They don't get invited to play dates and birthday parties as much. So if we can reach out, like, it tells practical tips that people don't know, children don't know, so they can feel more comfortable interacting. Like, everybody tends to stare at a person with a physical disability. So instead, if there's another 5-letter word that also begins with S, if you smile, you could still stare because you're curious, but if you smile in addition, that goes in and warms the heart of the child with the disability. It changes everything. So, it just gives different examples of how to interact. So that's like a sample of what's happening.
No, that's awesome. And, I think maybe we as adults take that stuff for granted, going through, and I'm sure you can relate as well, going through undergrad and then going through chiropractic school, where we learn everything down to the filtration of salt in the kidneys, or whatever it is. It's like we lose focus on the things that our kids actually need to know, and the basics that we should be following to be healthy. And so I think going back to basics like that, and taking that view of, like, instead of you're doing things wrong, here's how to do them. Here's a so much better choice. Instead of like fear-based, where like candy is terrible for you and it's going to rot your teeth and don't eat it. It's like, here is something that's actually much better than candy. Like this will give you nutrients instead of suck them out. And here's the different beauties of it. And I love that you take that approach. And that's really one of the focuses of the book that I have coming out, Perspective, Rewire Your Brain for Success and Abundance, where if we can have the lens of life looking through abundance, not running away from something, but running towards, a vision or a purpose, people are going to be much happier. People are going to be making much better decisions. People are going to be much less impulsive, and so if people have a deep-seated reason why they're not going to eat that candy and why they like, strawberries or something like that better, connected spiritually, not just what it's doing physically, I think that's powerful. And like you said, that sets the lifelong tone rather than just a temporary reason for kids not to eat candy. I love that.
Beautiful. Yes. When we eat these natural, one of my books is called Hashem's Candy Store, all about the natural foods, because when we eat these grapes or a watermelon or a date, like what compares with that natural sweetness? It's the best. These are the treats that were designed to uplift us physically and spiritually. They fill us with gratitude. After we eat like junk food, we don't feel gratitude. We feel it's like it pulls us down, but this uplifts us. It's like, and that's what it's designed to do.
Right. You go from having gratitude to having attitude, right? Bracha, thank you so much for joining me on this. I think this is a wonderful conversation. I know the second people start listening, you're going to have a ton of book orders for all these. I know I'm going to go order a couple of the Let's Be Healthy ones for my practice, because, parents are always searching for ways to introduce healthy foods to their kids in a way that's not fear-based, in a way that's supportive, joyful. And I think you've been given a gift to be able to do that. We mentioned it a little bit in the beginning, but where can people go find your books? Where can people follow you? Be looking out for the next book and things like that.
Yeah, my children, they just designed my new website, the Goetz Bookshop. So,
cool.
Yeah, all my books are there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to reading more and listening more and connecting, hopefully in the future when you have a couple more books out, and discussing those as well.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you for listening to the Healthy Perspective Podcast. To connect with Dr. Bowman, follow him on Instagram @Dr. Chris Bowman. Until next time, make shift happen.